Just about a month ago, my mom and I moved into a new house after separating from my dad. We were living in San Francisco the last 10 years, and we were ecstatic to be away from the big city and getting a fresh start living in a rural area in Oregon. The house that we moved into was in a small neighborhood near a forest line, about 15 miles from the nearest grocery store. It was the exact opposite of what we were used to in the city, and we fell in love with our new home right away. Everything was going great. One beautiful Wednesday afternoon, school ended early, and I arrived home from the school bus and set up a lawn chair in the front yard, attempting to knock out my algebra homework before my mom got home. Mom would let me play video games during the week as long as my homework was done. I finish a few math questions, and because of my short attention span, I glance up to take in the beautiful scenery. I get a slight tingle on the back of my neck and a weird feeling that I'm being watched. I turned my head back and slowly panned over the neighboring houses. Nothing. No big deal. I turn back to my schoolwork and do a few more math problems. Then I hear a faint squeaking noise coming from behind me. I turn back in the direction of the noise to see an older man sitting in a rocking chair. It was our neighbor. He lived next door, but I had never seen him before. We had only met a few neighbors because everyone normally kept to themselves here. The people weren't really too friendly, but like I said, it was the exact opposite of a bustling city, so we didn't mind at all. I gave a quick smile and wave, but he didn't wave back. He just kept staring, and suddenly stopped rocking the chair. It got pretty awkward, so I just turned back around in my chair and kept doing my homework. Then the squeaking started back up again. It really creeped me out that he stopped his rocking chair when I waved. Whatever. I figured that it was just how these country people were, and I kept doing my work. To be honest, it started getting harder to focus because of the squeaking sound due to my attention deficit. So I stuffed my homework in my backpack and headed back across the lawn toward my house. The squeaking continued as I took a few steps, but when I took a quick, curious glance back at the man, he stopped rocking again. Now I could make out the man's features. I felt a cold shiver down my spine as our eyes met. It almost looked as if he didn't have any eyes, just black holes, coldly staring back at me as he followed me with his head all the way back up to my porch. His hair was dirty gray and messy, with bald patches in the front. His stained white shirt looked as if he hadn't washed it in years. I quickly looked back down at my feet and almost tripped on the first step of my porch. He watched me all the way until I was inside the door. I quickly closed it and locked both locks. What the hell is this guy's problem, I thought. I finished my work and jumped on my PlayStation, trying to get his cold gaze out of my head. Maybe he's just a lonely old man and just doesn't like kids or something. Anyway, I told my mom about it at dinner, and she said not to worry, and that old folks are like that sometimes. I agreed, and we said our goodnights and headed to our rooms for bed. It was really tough getting to sleep because of the image of that man's face still fresh in my head. I finally dozed off and began to have a strange dream. I was back outside in my dream on the lawn chair, only it was dark. I heard the squeaking and turned around to look, and the old man stopped rocking in his chair and opened his mouth, slowly revealing long, sharp fangs, and suddenly started to let out an eerie, loud moan. I could feel my heart in my throat as the moan turned into a scream. I woke up and jumped out of bed. Just a dream, I said to myself. Then suddenly, another glass shattering scream. What is going on? I turned on the light in my room and stopped to listen to see where it was coming from. I went to check my window, and I could hear the scream as if it was coming from the neighbor's house. It was high pitched, as if someone was getting stabbed. Suddenly, my door burst open, but it was my mom, who quickly ran to hug me with her eyes wide with terror as she asked me why I was screaming. I quickly pointed to my window, assuring her that it wasn't me. It must be the neighbor, Mom. She quickly ran to her room to call the cops from her cell phone. She was explaining the situation to the operator when suddenly the screaming stopped. I glanced out the window and screamed when I saw the man was at the window staring at me with his black eyes and bewildered hair. I quickly ducked under the window and curled up in a ball. My mom told the operator that the man was just standing at his window and stopped screaming, and quickly moved away from the window into his dark home. The operator said that there wasn't anything they could do, and said that they had investigated the same house before and found out that the man had a slight case of dementia and would sometimes show signs of sundowning, and that he was just a harmless old man. She recommended that we use earplugs whenever we experienced the noises again. The next morning, we went to work and school with only a few hours sleep because of the incident. I couldn't shake the thought of that man standing in his window with those cold black eyes and the creepy silence after he saw me. I got off the school bus and could see the man squeaking his rocking chair in the corner of my eye, but I made sure not to make eye contact this time and hurried into the house and locked the door. After dinner, my mom handed me a fresh pack of earplugs, and we headed off to bed and locked our bedroom doors. I fell asleep immediately from being tired from the night before, with the earplugs blocking all outside noises. A few hours into my sleep, I was awakened by a scratching sound, like fingernails on wood. I sat up and looked around. One of my earplugs had fallen out from turning over in my sleep. Then scratching started to get louder and more aggressive. My heart froze as I gulped. Was someone at my door? I prayed to God that it was my mom just checking on me. "Mom?" I said softly. I was answered with an eerie moaning sound. Then my doorknob started to rattle. The crazy old man was in my house. The moan turned into a scream and I began to cry. I wanted to call for my mom, but I knew she couldn't hear me because of the earplugs. I didn't have my own phone, so I couldn't call the cops. I decided I would wait it out and hopefully he would just go away. The screaming stopped, and all went quiet. I held my breath as his footsteps faded down the hallway. I sighed in relief and put my ear to the door to listen for any sign of the old man or my mom. I stammered backward when I heard the footsteps coming back toward my room. I held my breath, heart in my throat again as I saw the door handle shaking violently. The eerie moaning started again with a heavy kick to my door. I backed away to my window and stood in shock as my door started to splinter at the hinges. I couldn't just let him get to me. I ran from my window as the door was swung open. I quickly opened my window and climbed out, glancing back to see the old man screaming like a maniac, sprinting to my window with one of our large kitchen knives in his hand. I ran to my mom's window and banged on it. "Mom, let me in!" As she quickly opened it and let me inside as police sirens blared in front of our house. My mom heard everything and called the cops as soon as she heard the psycho man trying to get into my room. I broke down in tears as my mom hugged me, both of us shaken to the core. We heard the police scream at the man to put the weapon down, followed by taser guns clicking. We heard the knife hit the floor as the man flopped like a fish. The police came to our door and told us it was safe to come out. They told us the man was definitely not capable of living on his own anymore. We never saw the man again. My mom inquired of the man with the police station, and they said that he was now living in a mental hospital where he could no longer hurt us. Sleeping in our new house will never be the same again.